Welcome to the Teaching Journeys podcast, hosted by Dave Roberts. Humanity possesses a unique skill, the ability to pass knowledge from one generation to the next. This podcast embraces that ability, offering learning opportunities through conversations with extraordinary guests. Dave aims to leave a positive mark on individuals around the world. So before you dive into today's episode, please share this podcast with your network, including friends, family, and colleagues. And please consider leaving a rating or review. Your support makes all the difference.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Teaching Journeys podcast. I'm your host, Dave Roberts, and today it's my pleasure to have as my guest Randy McNeely. Randy McNeely, a.k.a. Captain Kindman, is a man of faith, husband, and father of 5. He's a survivor and passionate advocate for courageous kindness. Guided by the belief that we are all children of God, Randy inspires people to live and lead with love in every part of life. Through the Courageous Kindness Shift, Randy teaches how to see, think, feel, listen, and respond differently, helping students, educators, and organizations bridge divides, heal polarizations, and create cultures of empathy and respect. As founder of the Kindness Giver LLC, he equips others with the ICA method, which is identify, clarify, and amplify, and the Kindness Giver's formula to turn kindness into real sustainable action. Randy is also co-founder of Positive Film Company, The Kindness Factor International, producer of For Such a Time as This, co-creator of the Kindness Factor series, and co-host of the Kindness Factor podcast. His mantra is love people, and his motto is you can't fail with kindness. And his mission is to inspire and equip others to embrace the courageous kindness shift and transform the world, one act of love-driven kindness at a time. Randy, welcome to the Teaching Journeys podcast. It's a pleasure having you on the program today.
Oh, thank you so much, Dave. It's a true pleasure for me to have the opportunity to sit here with you and to just have a chance to have a great conversation and maybe discuss kindness a little bit.
Yeah, I have a feeling we're going to be talking about kindness a lot because that is the value that fuels what you do to make the world a more kinder place, a more tolerant place, and to teach others on how we can lead with kindness and how that makes a positive impact. So we got to give a shout out though to April Wyatt, who has been on my podcast, introduced us and thought we would align for a podcast episode. She was absolutely right, because your message and what you're doing to make an impact on the world aligns with the other guests that I've had. So thank you again, April, for making the introduction. But anyway, Randy, my first question for you is tell us about the experiences that have shaped your life path and basically has created Captain Kindman.
As I look back at my life, I'm a survivor of multiple forms of childhood abuse. And I look back and I think about how was I able to survive that? How was I able to get through that? Well, first and foremost, I'm a Christian and I have great faith in God and Jesus Christ. I believe in heavenly help. I know heavenly help comes because I've experienced it in my life a multitude of times. As part of that, though, is I firmly believe I believe that God raises up friends for us. And in a time in my life when I was really going through some challenges, because my father was a perpetrator of the abuses, and he was arrested for abusing several youth, including myself and my siblings, in a sexual way, and apologize to the audience now if there's any triggers out there, but it's because that's a sensitive topic. But it was obviously a very harsh and challenging experience to have. And in the middle of all that, my father gets arrested. I'm happy on one side and feeling terrible about me on the other side, because despite everything, he's still my father, and feeling like I'm a terrible person because I wanted him to get caught and and the whole interesting, almost schizophrenic dichotomy was that my self-esteem didn't exist. I felt terrible about me, and I really had some dark thoughts. And fortunately for me, I firmly believe God raised up friends that in that time in my life saw me for who I was. They saw me as a human being, as a child of God, as someone who deserved to be valued and appreciated and loved. And instead of condemning me or judging me based on my father's actions, which was something I greatly feared would happen. They stepped in and stepped up into the shoes of kindness heroes. They put their arms around me. They loved me. They cared for me. They helped me to know that I was valuable, and that love drove away feelings of darkness and dark thoughts of things that would have been a very permanent solution to a short-term problem. And I'm happy to testify and to talk to anybody and say, I don't just believe that love can save lives. I know it can. And that love, how do we get that love? It's delivered through kindness. Kindness is love's delivery agent. Kindness opens the door to love coming into our lives through the kind actions that we take. And that's that experience, and then a multitude of others since then. And seeing the challenges that we're facing in the world, and so many people turning to anger and being willing to embrace anger, and all the division and polarization that I see around me, I couldn't just sit back when I know that there's a formula for finding joy and happiness, breaking down walls and barriers, and healing the breach. I couldn't just sit back and not do something. So that's what drove me to do the things I'm doing, to stand up and speak out about kindness. And I wrote a book about kindness called The Kindness Giver's Formula. And that's what drives me for doing all the things that I'm doing.
Well, I look at your history as being an abuse survivor. And so many times I've seen this as a clinician that the victim of abuse becomes the perpetrator of abuse. That cycle tends to recapitulate itself. And you chose a different path. You chose kindness, you chose faith, you broke that cycle. Your actions probably broke a cycle, perhaps of generational trauma, or at least trauma that emanated from your family. You broke that cycle just by deciding that you wanted to embrace kindness as your mantra.
Well, I sure hope so. If you talk to my kids and ask them, well, how did he do it as a dad? They might say, well, he had his challenges. You can't live and grow up in an environment where you're being constantly fed a diet of downer fodder, a diet of you are less than, that you're nothing, that you're worthless, that you're useless, and all that stuff. You can't grow up in that environment and come away unaffected. And so, as much as I wanted to totally, completely, 100% avoid having my children grow up in an environment where they had any of those feelings. And so have I been perfect at that? No. And sometimes, I've allowed myself to say things or do things that were not kind. And then I've had to step back and say, whoa, 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 whoa. And I'm quick to apologize. I'm quick to ask for forgiveness. I haven't been perfect. I haven't been the perfect dad, but I've tried. And my kids are pretty darn good kids. And they've had a lot better environment to grow up in. And I have to say, I can't take credit for most of them. Most of the credit for that goes to my sweetheart. I'm married to an angel. And because of her love and her influence and her caring, I'm a much better man. I was a better dad. I was a better husband. And my kids are better kids because of her. And that's another angelic influence that I've had in my life that has been a tremendous blessing for me.
Yeah, and I know you've mentioned your wife in previous conversations that we've had in terms of the strength, the support, and the love that she shows you and that you have for each other. And, I mean, I don't think there's any such thing as the perfect parent. I certainly didn't do parenting perfectly myself, Randy. I had my missteps, but I think the key is you ask for forgiveness, you're accountable, and you're willing to learn from your mistakes. And
Yeah.
also you're willing to learn from your children, who could be are the best teachers that we could ever have about
Oh
parenting
my gosh, yes.
than any parenting book. But it's all about accountability, and that's the other part of it. You make a mistake, own it, and then learn from it. So
Yeah.
you mentioned your book. Let's talk about that. The Kindness Giver's Formula 2.0, what it's about, and what you want readers to take away from it.
Kindness Giver's Formula 2.0 is actually inspired by a formula created by John Maxwell. John Maxwell is one of the great leadership writers, and he was speaking at a church, and I don't remember what church, but he shared a simple formula for bringing value every day to people. And I really thought about that. And I thought I could use that same process for creating a formula for daily intentional kindness. It's a simple formula. It's every day, get up, and look in the mirror and say to yourself, I'm going to be a kindness giver today. I'm going to go out and intentionally look for opportunities to give kindness away. And why is that important? It's not a hard step or anything, and it's nothing huge, but it's just something affirmative, and it puts kindness at the top of mind every day. I mean, think about it. You start out thinking about that at the beginning of the day. It's a lot easier to carry it through. The second step is to simply take a few minutes and sit down and think, who am I going to be with? Where am I going to be? What am I going to be doing? Think of and plan simple opportunities to be kind, that you're going to intentionally look for those opportunities to be kind. And then the third step is to go out, put your kindness antennas up and look for opportunities to be kind. I'm going to say right here, we have random acts of kindness day and things like that, and I think it's great. But I'm here to say there are no random acts of kindness. The reality is that anytime we're kind, it's because we intentionally choose to be kind. Nobody can force us to. We don't randomly just decide we're going to do it. We just, when the opportunity is there, we do it. Here's the thing though, there are dozens and dozens and dozens of random opportunities to be kind that present themselves. And if we're intentionally looking for them, we will find them, and then we can choose to go and do. And so I say, put your kindness antennas up, go out and look for and act on every opportunity to be kind that's reasonably possible. You know, it may be one time, it may be 5 times, just whatever works within your capacity. And then the fourth step is to invite and encourage other people to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Invite and encourage other people to do the same thing. And finally, at the end of the day, take some time to reflect on your day and write down the experiences that you had with kindness. And why does that matter? One, it ingrains them more in your head. And two, they're there for rainy days. There's not a person on this planet who doesn't have days where it feels like they've got clouds over their head and where they're a little bit down or discouraged. We all have those days. Beautiful thing about that little journal, you can go back and reread previous experiences you've had with kindness, and your mind does a funny thing. It's like mental time travel. Your mind releases again oxytocin, serotonin, dopamine, and endorphins, the same feelings of happiness and peace that you had when you first experienced it. So 5 steps: every day get up and say you're going to be a kindness giver. Think of and plan ways to be a kindness giver. Look for and act on opportunities to be a kindness giver. Invite and encourage others to be kindness givers, and reflect on and record your experiences with kindness.
Yeah, I like that. It's inviting us to consciously make kindness a part of our everyday lives. We find opportunities to be kind. We encourage others to be kind. We reflect on that, and it will become almost as natural a part of our lives as it is breathing. So,
There's something powerful about that because, as we talked about earlier, kindness is love's delivery agent. It's a mechanism for delivering love into the world. So think about that. If everybody, how would the world change if people got up and put that simple little formula into practice? What would happen to love in the world? It would explode because kindness delivers love. It opens hearts. And when people's hearts are open, they're more receptive to going out and replicating those same experiences with other people. It creates a ripple effect that can go on for a long, long time.
and replicating those experiences with other individuals they may have had previous disagreements with or differences with. So, um,
Exactly.
we're not going to agree on everything, and the world wasn't meant to have a collection of yes people for its culture. We're supposed to be able to disagree, but do so amicably and do so that we understand the other person's perspective, respect it, and then see what we can learn from it, as opposed to judging it.
Exactly. You know as well as I do, we live in a time when people are so quick to jump on somebody's words and make them an offender because they said something that I didn't agree with or whatever. And the reality is, in human interaction, because we've all lived different experiences, right? You've lived a different life than I've lived, Dave. I've lived a different life than you've lived. We've had different experiences. And I'm willing to bet that if we look for them, we could find all kinds of areas to disagree on
Mhm.
because we're human beings and we've had different experiences. But on the same token, we can look for and find all kinds of things that we can agree on because we care about people. and we want to make a difference in this world. We're doing the things we do because we hope to make a difference in the world for good. And so if we're willing to, we can find ways to agree. And when we disagree, we can say, okay, I can respect you feeling that way. I can understand you having those feelings. I don't necessarily feel the same way, but I respect you. I like you. I appreciate the fact that you are who you are. And I'm grateful that you shared what you shared with me. And it's okay to have disagreement. There's nothing wrong with that. That's part of being human.
Yeah, if we can discuss disagreement intelligently with maturity, it leads to growth on both parts because we have a better understanding of each other.
Well, exactly right. And think about this. If we stop talking to people because we don't agree with them, how do we ever find any solutions to the challenges in this world?
Yeah.
Challenges come because of disagreement, because people don't necessarily see things the same way.
And when you're talking about consensus decision making, you need a group of individuals who don't see things the same way.
Exactly.
You need to create that environment where different perspectives are going to come out and the group comes together to say, I don't necessarily agree with all of this, but I can understand your point. And together they can come to a compromise where individually would they have done it the way the group had intended to do it? Probably not. But is it a decision because of the fact that that group came together with understanding as opposed to opposition, that they could compromise and put together the best of all worlds to come up with a solution that's going to benefit everybody? Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. The beautiful thing is that when we're willing to set aside our own egos and we're willing to come to the table with an open heart, an open mind, and willing to listen with the intent to understand, like Covey taught, seek first to understand and then to be understood. That's when the magic happens.
Yep.
That's when people who disagree can find areas of common ground and come up with a solution that they can both live with. They may not, like you said, they may not 100% agree with everything, but it's a solution that they can both live with and that will be an overall solution that a lot of other people can live with rather than just my way or the highway.
Yeah, because that kind of my way or the highway will stoke division very quickly.
Here's an interesting thing. People that like to get angry and embrace anger and respond with anger to a lot of things don't know how to take it when you don't respond to them with anger. It actually, they almost can't handle that. But the beautiful thing is, if you can learn how to respond to people with kindness, even in the face of anger, you can become an instrument in helping to lower the temperature.
Yep. Yep.
And that's what our world needs. We need to lower the temperature. It's really hot out there
Yeah.
in a lot of ways.
Well, if we can lower the temperature, it makes all parties involved calmer and more willing to listen. The one time you never want to really present a position that may be different from somebody else is if that other person is as angry as all get out and is so angry that they're not going to listen to you anyway. And that just presenting that dissenting opinion is just going to make them more angry. You take some time, you chill out, you come back to that individual maybe 20, 30 minutes later to see if they're ready to talk. And if they're not, you leave and you come back until they're ready.
Yeah. You let them know that you're not shutting them off.
Mhm.
You said, listen, I'm happy to talk with you. It appears right now that you're not ready to talk, that we wouldn't be able to have a productive conversation. I'll come back when you're ready. And sometimes, even in the heat of the moment, if someone's really upset, you can say, I can see this really upsets you. And I can also tell that this is something very important to you. And I'd like to be able to understand why you're feeling the way you feel, where you're coming from, so that I have a better understanding of you. And then with that understanding, maybe we can talk about some things and I'd like to give you the opportunity to understand me and know why I feel the way I feel.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
when you start having that kind of conversation, that's when you can actually start to make some progress.
Absolutely. Now, your second book, The Daily Dose of Positive, Volume 1, How does that complement the Kindness Giver's Formula 2.0, or is that book going in a whole different direction?
Well, no, it's a compliment in the sense that it's just a collection of inspirational quotes that talk about kindness or talk about leadership and things like that, things to help people improve and do better and be better. And I basically just went through and I collected some amazing quotes. I said, this is what this means to me. I'd love to know what it means to you, and give people the opportunity to look at and reflect on. I said, there's sections in there reflecting on, what did this mean to me? How is it applicable to me? What can I do with this? And so it was just an intent to give people an opportunity to reflect on some great leadership principles, some great quotes and things like that, and then take what they want and apply it to their lives.
Can I ask you what your favorite inspirational quote is about kindness?
Goodness, that's a tough one because I have a lot of them. There's a little song I learned when I was a child, and it goes like this: I want to be kind to everyone, for that is right, you see. So I say to myself, remember this: kindness begins with me. And I like that poem because it reminds me, or that it's actually a song. It reminds me that kindness begins with me. I need to be kind to myself. And we all do. Every one of us, we're our own worst critic. We know all the deep, dark secrets that we have inside. Oh, if they knew this only, whatever it is, we're our own worst critics. And so, unless we can learn how to get along with ourselves and see ourselves for the good people that we are, we're going to have a lot more challenges being able to be kind and see the good in other people.
Is it just the inner critic that we have that contributes to sometimes our inability to be kind to ourselves, or is there more to that, Randy?
Our inner critic contributes to that big time. I mean, when we let those critical thoughts live rent free in our heads and don't evict them, the things we think about drive our actions, drive our desires and things like that. So I believe the inner critic does play a heavy part, but also the environment we've lived in, the people that we've surrounded ourselves with. If we're constantly being told that we're idiots or stupid or dumb, it's really hard not to have that rub off on us and influence how we feel about towards ourselves, which directly influences and impacts how we interact with others.
Yeah, if we keep hearing that we are bad enough, we're going to start believing it, particularly if it's coming from individuals who were taught to respect, like our parents.
Well, I did learn some good things from my father. He taught me how to work hard, taught me how to do things right the first time, then you won't have to worry about coming back and doing them again. As challenging it was, he was very authoritarian. He was very critical and stuff like that. But interestingly, he was also willing to help anybody whenever they needed it. So he set an example of kindness in that way. He went out and served and was always willing to help. And so I did a lot of service and learned how to help. But he was constantly yelling, criticizing, harping, jumping down my throat for various things, or at the throats of my siblings and my mom. And when you live with that constantly, it's really hard not to allow that to penetrate. And when it's penetrated, man, it's hard to scrub that out. It's hard
Yeah,
to get it out of your system.
I imagine that his actions, being of service on the one hand, and then being super critical and abusive to you and your family, on the other hand, had to create a set of mixed messages, I would imagine.
Oh my gosh, yeah. It's like, which is it?
Yeah.
Well, and we went to church on Sunday. We went to church where we learned that love your neighbor as yourself. Do as Jesus would do, follow his example, and constantly looking for opportunities to serve and help and build people. And again, my dad was good at the service part. He just wasn't good at the love your neighbor and yourself part, as far as when it came to verbal abuse, as well as the other abuses.
Sometimes, and I'm not saying this is the case, but I remember seeing this on Facebook, and it goes something like this: that how we see the world outside of us is a reflection of how we see the world inside of us. So if we're critical of ourselves, we're going to be critical of everybody else. That kind of thing. If
It's a
we're
lot easier.
Yeah. You don't have to take responsibility for it. You can just blame your anger on somebody else, and you can displace that anger on somebody else without having to take a look at yourself.
It's been a battle throughout my life because of how I grew up and the diet that I ate. It's been a battle for me to be able to step back and say, okay, I don't have to see so and so this way. It's really easy to just jump into the critics mode and say, I've made mistakes. I've made a lot of mistakes along the way with people that I could have treated differently. I could have been differently. I could have said something differently or done something differently. But as I've gotten older and gained more experience, I've learned that if you treat people with respect and you extend kindness toward them, extend behaviors toward them that show that you value and appreciate them, amazingly, things go a lot better.
You're going to receive what you put out there. If you put out kindness, you're going to get it back. If
Exactly.
you put out negative vibes, you're going to get that back.
Well,
Um,
think about this, Dave. Can I throw something there out there to you?
mhm.
And I was thinking about this just this morning. There's a keystone that is the keystone of success for everybody individually. It's the keystone of success in families. It's the keystone for success in organizations, in neighborhoods, communities, and countries. And it's all wrapped up in one word. It's love. Love is the keystone. It's the foundation for every relationship, building trust, for respect, for being able to collaborate and have teamwork and all those things. And how do we get that love? It's delivered through kindness. That's why I talk about what I do. The ultimate outcome for everything I do is I want it to be love, growing love in the world. On LinkedIn, I'm doing the Growing Love Through Kindness campaign. I post there every day or every other day. Some days I go for 2 or 3 days, but I always catch up and post about each day. And the reason I do that is because if there's a song from the 60s and you heard it, what the world needs now is love, sweet love. It's the only thing that we've got too little of. I mean, if those words were ever true, they're true now. And if there was ever a time in the world when we needed more love, we needed love more desperately every day and deeply every day, it's now. How does love apply in all those situations? I mean, think about it. When people feel valued and appreciated, which is what love does,
Yeah.
what happens to their individual productivity, the way they feel about themselves, the way they treat others? What happens in teams when everybody feels valued and appreciated?
Mhm.
Teamwork increases, morale increases, productivity goes up, engagement goes up. What happens in communities where neighbors love each other and care about each other and are watching out for each other? I could go on, but it's not this magical formula that you have to have. It's something that every one of us, if we're willing to put the effort into it, we can tap into it every single day, all day long, every day.
And you're absolutely right. And the other thing is that there are many businesses now that are tapping into heart-centered leadership, which is about treating employees and the members of the organization with respect, with interest, with understanding of their lives beyond the workplace, because that's going to make them feel valued. It's going to make them feel more productive. And they're less likely to leave that organization if they feel valued.
Exactly. Well, you think about it. If you come into work and you love being there because you feel valued and appreciated, you feel like your work is valued, you feel like the work that you're doing, that you're given to do is valuable for the people that you're serving. Well, if you're in a situation that's good like that, why would you leave? Unless there's some kind of financial downturn or whatever. I mean, there are all kinds of circumstances that could come up, but for the most part, people who enjoy what they do and enjoy the environment that they're in, the people that they work with, they're going to stay there for a long time.
Because they know in one way, shape, or form, in addition to monetarily, they're going to get compensated in other ways.
Even when in some cases, they may not get paid as well as they would if they went somewhere else, but there's other compensations that make up for that difference.
Yeah, I mean, the value of feeling connected to something greater than yourselves, the personal growth that comes from being valued and seeing the value of everybody else. So yeah, I mean, those are tangibles beyond the benefits and the actual monetary compensation that I think will keep people in organizations longer. Like I said, if they do leave, it would have to be an extreme, a financial downturn or the company downsizing or things of that nature. But satisfied employees typically stay as long as they're needed.
I can give you a perfect example of what I just talked about. My wife works for an amazing company called Non-Emergency Transport here where I live in Iowa. And is the pay as good as some other companies? Mm, Not necessarily, but I'll tell you what, I mean, she's diehard loyal, and so am I to her, to the owners of that company. They not only have they treated her well, but I mean, they've gone out of their way to extend kindness towards us. My wife's had cancer twice, surgery to remove a cancerous tumor twice on the same leg in the last 3 years. And her employers have been fantastic. They've given her the time off. They've extended love and caring in a multitude of ways that have just won our hearts. She's diehard loyal to them. She just recently had somebody reach out and ask her, offer her another position that would have been a little bit better pay. My wife turned him down because she loves the company she's working for, and she just doesn't want to move away from them.
Yeah, and if you're satisfied on the humanitarian level, as well as on the professional growth level,
Yeah.
and in organizational cultural level, you're not going too far. You're going to stay where you're at.
Yeah. I want to point out something is this thought's been niggling in the back of my mind. We understand and recognize that when I said every day you could tap into love and kindness, we understand that there are some challenging situations. People that live in situations where they don't feel love and kindness. They're trapped. There's all kinds of situations they could be in where they don't feel loved or feel like they can find love. The reality is, and people like Viktor Frankl and several other Jewish prisoners of war proved that regardless of the situation you're in, you can control your mind and you can determine how you feel about things. And you can look for simple kindnesses, even in those situations. And so, on those days where, in those times, in those places where everything seemed dark, I can make you a promise. If you will look for opportunities, simple opportunities to see kindness and find kindness, they will come.
Yeah. What's the difference between courageous kindness and simply just being kind?
A very good question. My simple definition of kindness is love in action. And expanded on that a little bit is kindness is love in action, which embraces every behavior by which we show value and appreciation for ourselves and for others. And that includes for the planet, because when we're taking care of ourselves and others, we're taking care of our surroundings so we can live in a nice place. The difference between that and courageous kindness is that courageous kindness embraces everything I just said, but it also means extending love through kindness to everyone, regardless of the situation. That takes a lot of courage. It's not easy. It's very hard to extend kindness and love towards someone who's not being kind and loving to you. But if we're going to change the world and change ourselves and become better, it has to start with us, and it has to start with our own willingness to extend love towards others, particularly those that we don't necessarily want to extend it toward.
Is it also with courageous kindness, it's extending kindness to somebody we may not agree with, we may not even like? Is the expectation that if we do that, we're going to get kindness in return, or is that
We may or
something
may
different?
not. We can't control what other people do.
Yeah.
We can't control what other people do, but we can control what we do. And we can know if we did our part, did our best to extend love and kindness, and somebody doesn't receive it or reciprocate it, that's okay. We can feel good about the fact that, hey, I did what I could.
A few years down the road, that seed may germinate, and that person may find you. And she'll just be grateful that you did show them kindness at a time where they maybe didn't want to be kind to themselves.
Exactly. We never know when some simple thing we do today may end up being a major milestone for somebody else,
Yep.
you know?
And I've said this on other podcasts. You hold the door open for somebody who's suicidal. That might be just enough for them to delay their decision for a day because somebody cared enough about them to extend kindness to them.
Can I share a story about that?
You can share as many stories as you want, Randy.
I was interviewing a gentleman named Ken Caputo on our podcast, and he shared the story. He runs a Taekwondo school, and he's telling us one of the things that they teach the kids is to smile at other people. When you're out with your family or out wherever you are, just take a few minutes, take the time to smile at people, and it'll make a difference. And one of those kids came back to him after they'd been taught that, and he says, "I think I saved somebody's life." He's like, "What?" He says, "Yeah, I think I saved somebody's life with a smile." He says, "What are you talking about? Tell me about it." He got on the bus, and he's like 7 or 8, and there were kids on there up to 14, 13, 14. I mean, all a mixture of kids. Gets on the bus, and he sees this older boy over on another seat that just didn't look happy. He looked discouraged, he looked depressed, he looked down, and he just decided to smile at him. And he kept smiling at him. The kid looked over and saw him smiling, and he just kept smiling the whole time. And he says, "I felt a little bit nervous keeping that smile on my face because he looked really grouchy." But he says, "I just kept smiling." He said, "Today, that boy came up to me and said, 'Thank you for smiling at me yesterday. I was thinking about, I got home and I was going to kill myself. And then I kept thinking of your smile. And because I thought if he can smile at me, there must be something worth living for. So I didn't do it.'" That's the power of one simple thing. It's a smile. It's a little act of kindness, but he saved that young man's life.
Well, you
How,
know, and oh, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
I was going to say powerful.
Well, I'm thinking if that were me who was experiencing thoughts of suicide, I had somebody smiling at me, that would give me a reason to go on because it told me that somebody thought I was worthy of their kindness.
I'm worth being smiled at. There must be
Yeah.
something good about me.
Yeah. I must have some purpose in my life, to make that young man smile at me.
Yeah.
I can't be all bad. It can't be all hopeless for me. And what that young man did was delay that decision for another day until somebody else could show that person that same act of kindness. It created that chain effect, and it creates that chain effect. So that's a great story. I love stories like that.
Just another simple one too, the same type of situation. The young man was having those same thoughts. He determined he was gonna kill himself. He went over to his friend's house to say goodbye, and his friend's mother felt like she should give him a hug and let him know that she loved him, that they loved him, and that they were glad that he was their friend and part of their family. And he said that simple act, her putting her arms around me and telling me she loved me and was glad that I was part of their family, saved my life. I didn't go through with it. I couldn't. After that, I knew she loved me. And again, a simple action. She followed a nudge that she got, and it totally changed the outcome. And that guy was an Australian who is going around inspiring young people to do better, be better, become better. I mean, that's what he does for a living. And how many hundreds of lives, thousands of lives have been touched by that ripple?
Hmm. And it's all it takes for somebody who doesn't feel that they have value for somebody to genuinely communicate that they do.
Yeah.
And more so, that's through their actions than anything else.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Can I end with a story that goes right along with that?
You certainly can.
When I was in junior high, I had a wonderful friend named Rochelle Knight, who to this day, she doesn't remember this experience. When we were like 14 or 15, it was that time when I was going through the challenges with my dad being arrested and all that stuff. And I don't know how it happened. I got invited to be a representative to the student council, and I got asked to type up an agenda for the next meeting. And I said I would. So I got it all typed up. I made copies of it and had them all sitting out on the desk. And it was about 10 minutes before the meeting was supposed to start, maybe 15 minutes. And I was there by myself. And then Rochelle came in and she was wearing her cheerleader's uniform. She was a cheerleader and she was pretty. She was cheerful, kind to everybody. And she came in and picked up one of the agendas and she looked at it, and I had used the word miscellaneous in there, and she goes, "Oh, did you know you misspelled the word miscellaneous?" And I looked at it and realized that I had, and I said, "Oh, I bet you think I'm pretty stupid, huh?" And that's exactly how I felt about myself at the time. And she didn't miss a beat, Dave. She didn't miss a beat with her response. She says, "Oh, no, I don't. I think you're pretty neat." 9 words. "Oh, no, I don't. I think you're pretty neat." 9 words that I've never forgotten. They were a total lift to my soul in that one moment. To think that somebody saw me and somebody thought I was neat was like fireworks going off in my heart and in my mind. And of course, I was gonna cry, and I can't, a 14-year-old guy does not cry in front of a girl, right? I walked out. I said, "I need to go to the bathroom." I sprinted to the boys' bathroom. I walked inside. I sat down at the stall, and I just cried. This is somebody saw me. And that's the power of kindness. That happened over 40 years ago. Rochelle doesn't remember it, but I do. That was a milestone moment in my life, and I've never forgotten it, and I won't ever forget it because the fingerprints of her love are right here. They were
Mhm.
etched on my heart forever.
Yeah. She didn't view you as a mistake. She viewed you as a compassionate human being and a neat human being.
She did, and I'm forever grateful for that.
It's amazing, even I call them transient angels, those people that come into our lives for just a moment, but yet they change the trajectory of our lives forever.
Yeah, and most of the time, they don't even realize it.
No. I don't think we're going to realize the impact that we make on the people that we come in contact with. I think the impact that we make on individuals is going to go far beyond what the impact that we have been told we've made.
And so many times we do stuff, we do things, we say things, we try to be kind, we try to be caring, extend love towards others, and we never know really. A lot of the time, we don't know how somebody's been impacted by it. And then we'll just get some little note or some little letter. I'll get a letter in the mail or a card or something else. Because sometimes I sit and think, is it really worth it? Do I really want to keep trying to do all this? Because I mean, that's just part of life. It's at times because we get tired or whatever. And then you get those little pick me up notes and say, yeah, it's absolutely 150,000% worth it.
Yeah. I have a gratitude folder, that's a little manila folder that I've kept over the years of clients that have emailed me or snail mailed me, excuse me, that have told me the impact that they've had, how they did well after they got done with addictions counseling, how they embraced recovery, and just those kind of letters of thanks for the role that they perceived that I had in it. Now it's an email folder that I keep with those same type of gratitude emails for my students or anybody else that I may do bereavement support for. If I'm having a bad day, I'll pull one of those out and take a look at it and realize that, yeah, I mean, one bad day doesn't define the life of an individual, and one bad day shouldn't define the life of anybody.
Exactly. And the reality, we live in a time when people want to do that, though.
Hmm.
Social media. Oh, you said this 20 years ago. You must be a lousy person today. You know, you said this 5 years ago. They automatically assume that you're the same person today that you were 5 years ago or 5 weeks ago. You may be a different person, depending on what experiences you've had.
24 hours later, you might be a different person than you were 24 hours earlier just because of a radical transformative event that just caused you to rethink everything. So,
Exactly. Do you mind if we talk a little about the Kindness Factor International?
you must have been reading my mind because that was the next question I was going to ask you.
The Kindness Factor International is my film company. I partnered with an amazing man named Dr. Elia Gorgoras. He's the happiness doctor. And we have a fantastic director named Elgin Cahill. He's a master storyteller. And the three of us are partnered together. But our whole purpose, the purpose of the Kindness Factor International is just to provide uplifting, family oriented, genuine, great entertainment, joyful, easygoing, wholesome, good entertainment. And we also do work for individual companies that are looking to build a positive, upbeat image. But we just recently had the opportunity to produce, to film and produce an amazing feature-length documentary called For Such a Time as This. We've been nominated for 12 different awards. We've won 3 of those 12 awards, including Best Picture, Most Inspirational Picture, Excellence Award, all kinds of different things, because the film captures the story of kindness worldwide, the simple spark that ignited a worldwide kindness movement, the story of its founder, as well as the story of multiple other individuals weaved in throughout the movie. True stories about people who had life-saving, life-changing experiences with love delivered through kindness. And so we're all about the business of providing a voice for kindness in entertainment.
It sounds like a very impactful documentary. Is that available on any of the streaming platforms, Randy?
Not at this time. We're still in the festival process, so we're still getting, working through all the nominations and other stuff like that. And in the next year, it should be available for distribution. We've gotten a lot of good feedback. We're certainly heading in that direction.
Oh, that'll be great. And once that comes on, that'll be one of the documentaries I put in my must-watch queue.
I appreciate that, Dave. And I'm confident that you'll enjoy it and you'll be more than happy to share it with others. So it makes a difference.
Well, I mean, if we could spread the word of kindness and the importance of kindness any way we can, whether it's through film, whether it's through our actions, I'm all for it. So once it comes out, I'll do my part for sure. So,
But
want to ask you,
can I throw out just one other thing? If there's anybody out there who has a powerful story that they would like to share, that they would like to share with the world to make positive impact, we would love to talk with you. We would love to help you share your story.
I do have a couple of other questions for you before we
Absolutely.
conclude today. The first one is a surprise question I talked to you about as well, too.
Okay.
Here's my surprise question. If you could create the absolute perfect day for yourself, what would that look like?
Oh my goodness. I think it would be a day where I could go and be able to make a difference for good by sharing love with children who are ill, who need to have a little bit of cheer in their life. Or some kind of service activity where I'm blessing other people's lives and lifting their hearts. Maybe giving out food to homeless people, I don't know, or lifting and sharing and building somebody in need, somebody's heart who needs to be cheered up.
It sounds like the perfect day to me, as far as just, doing what you can to make the world a kinder place.
I love the feeling of seeing the light that comes into other people's lives when you extend kindness and love toward them. You know,
When you see somebody positively respond to an action that is done out of kindness, that is done out of love, and you see that transformation, that's better than all the money that you could ever accumulate in the world or material possessions. Just knowing that what we said or did made a positive impact on somebody else's life so they can go make a positive impact in their lives. I think that to me that's my definition of abundance.
I feel the same way. Amen.
Yeah. So my last question for you, and this is going to give you an opportunity to promote yourself. The other thing, for those of you who are going to be watching on YouTube, you will see Randy's outfit. He's got a cape, and you can stand up a little bit and show it has the Captain Kindman. That's his shirt.
Yeah, I'm right here. There.
And we could add him to the list of superheroes that our culture has embraced. So, but back to your contact information. How can people get in touch with you, purchase your books, contract for you as a speaker? What's the best way for them to do that?
Best way to do that is go to captainkindman.com. They can reach me on LinkedIn. They can purchase my books at amazon.com. The Kindness Givers Formula 2.0 is there. Daily Dose of Positive is there. And I'm in the process of writing a new book called The Courageous Kindness Operating System. So when that's out, you can go buy that too.
Well, when that's out, I'll have you back for a second podcast.
Sounds great. Yeah, but captainkindman.com. I'm going to say it's a work in progress right now. I'm finalizing some new updates to it that are going to look really great. And so maybe wait a week or two before you go out there.
And I'll make sure all of your contact information gets in the episode notes before we go live. Randy, thank you so much for just a wonderful conversation today. I truly enjoyed it. And hopefully we can do this again in the future sometime.
Well, thank you, Dave. I really appreciate you. And it was a thrill for me to have the opportunity to be here with you. And I look forward to doing it again.
Thank you. And with that, that's a wrap on another episode of the Teaching Journeys podcast. I'm your host, Dave Roberts, wishing you peace.